Goes behind our reality existence?
I think the beauty of our existence is just time. I think I believe that all the species on this planet have evolved over the process of evolution, and that's
What about matter itself? Because if we go beyond biological life, so the solar system is only a tiny speck in our galaxy, right? Milky Way.
Galaxy.
So how do you rationalize the existence of something rather than nothing?
Set it up.
It's already set up.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got an answer for it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
To set this up.
why is there something rather than nothing?
Yeah. How do you explain the existence of something when the default position should be nothing?
Why is the default position nothing rather than something?
Okay. Something requires an explanation.
Yes.
Nothing doesn't require an explanation because nothing is just simply nothing. It's the absence of everything.
in-
You don't need
yeah.
to explain why it's not there because nothing's there to make any changes, make any transformation.
Indeed.
If you hold on,
Remove this, yeah?
you don't need an explanation for nothing. But
Well, I guess
if you have something,
maybe it could all just gases.
take-
What led to the Big Bang?
This
What's
is the
before the Big
connector.
Bang? What's before the Big Bang? I couldn't tell you.
no, it's not a big bang. You see, this is a foundational question. Why does something exist rather than nothing?
Well, I have to go away and think about that. I haven't thought about it from that perspective before, but I don't necessarily think that would lead me onto a path where I think that the explanation for that is a conscious creator.
Okay, maybe we can actually reason why it needs to be. If there is something today in existence, like you and me, like Zishan, take Zishan for example, this handsome gentleman here.
Indeed.
Yep.
And a lovely shirt.
We need to have an explanation. How is this gentleman put together in this particular assembly? Right? I can see that he has a specific cells, if I go microscopically, but the cells are not all the same. His cells that makes the heart tissue is not the same in terms of his lungs. You're thinking, how can I see that, right? You can see that with a microscope, right? Because when they're aggregated together, they have a specific function and so on. This is where they came together in this. So this kind of intelligent assembly, I would say intelligent assembly, requires an explanation. If we go back from a biological system to the matter that is all around us, matter. So we have all these galaxies, they're spinning all around, right? They seem to be following a particular organized system. Requires an explanation. In fact, if I go even to a broader principle, if something exists now, could there be a time where there was absolute nothingness?
I mean, to have a wildfire, for example, where does the wildfire come from? It comes from a spark, doesn't it? So maybe though it could be that the default is a giant expanse of nothing. And
Can nothing do anything?
well, it could be that in that nothing, that something had to fill that nothing.
Let's go back. Let's go back to even before you explain anything. What is nothing?
Yeah, well, I'd say just a space void of anything else.
Space is something. So explain nothing again.
I wouldn't necessarily agree
That's not
that
nothing.
space is nothing.
No, space is something. Space, time,
Yeah.
quantum fluctuation, they're not nothing, they're something. So what is nothing in your understanding?
But
Don't go into Professor Lawrence Krauss, who's trying to deceive and con every other lay people out there by the universe came from nothing. You've read this book?
I haven't. No.
I've got it autographed by him. I went to the lecture specifically to ask him that question, why he's deceiving the people.
And what was his answer?
He says, I have defined, I've defined what my nothing is in my book, which is not nothing, which is something. So, nothing,
I guess that's an opinion.
if I tell you what nothing is the absence of everything. That means
Including space.
Space, time, quantum fluctuation, all of that.
But
If something exists
We're
now,
just-
can there be that kind of nothing? Before at one point.
well, I guess that's that's a very absolute. Maybe in the very beginning there was some sort of there was something that lay in between nothing and something.
I don't understand.
But I mean,
What is in between nothing and something? There's no such thing.
Uh,
It's a binary. It's
it
either
could be.
nothing or something.
It could be
no,
something.
Explain. If you cannot explain something, then don't bring it in the table. So what is you're proposing?
I'm proposing that. Look, I haven't come prepped for this particular.
Let's reason.
But with we're coming back to, we began with, is the reason that we are here, because it has been consciously created.
We can go there by understanding what is nothing and what is something. You'll find that it's amazing in a simple foundational level, like what is something and nothing can lead us to a conviction of whether there is a conscious agent behind this universe. You'll be amazed. So we need to understand something is what we are. We know that we are something. We're made of matter.
We all know that if you leave a cold bottle on the side, it condenses. We know that if you trap certain gases, so I think if there was a space devoid of anything with I don't know, some...
Space is space. Space we can curve, right? It's not nothing. So let me tell you, if I have a money bag, which I have, and I have no money, can I give you £5 from it?
Well, I think...
I have no money. That includes no credit cards, no money, no cash, nothing. Can I give you £5?
Well, actually, money's a bad one because the monetary system is based on.
We know what money is.
Things happening from.
But do you know what money is? You know what money is? Can I give you £5 to buy something? Like get some water or coffee?
No, but you can say.
If I have no money.
You can just go to somebody and say, "I will give you £5. Can I take that now?"
If I don't have it, then I can't give you. So this nothing that I have in my wallet.
Yeah.
This nothing cannot be suddenly generated into £5. So if there was nothing to begin with at one point for our universe, this nothing would not be able to generate anything. It will be nothing, nothing, nothing throughout. The fact that we have something now, there cannot be a time where there's absolute nothingness.
For me,
can there be?
For me, these aren't even the most, for whatever reason. Where the provenance of which we can be one of many things, whether it's a scientific one or a religious one. We are actually on a planet with a past and a future, and for me these aren't even the most important questions. I feel that there's so much more immediate.
What I'm reasoning is to demonstrate the existence of a creator who is one, only, possessor of will, intelligence and power, just from nothing and something. You've not heard this before in any philosophy books. These questions are not discussed in that way, and that's why you've not heard of these things.
You know what's interesting? Actually reminds me of a thought experiment. Somebody that, like yourself, is standing here, nice and safe, and then somebody comes randomly, puts a bag on your head, and then takes you away. You're hearing all this stuff, but you can't see anything. Then you're put on a train. Again, you can hear certain stuff. Then the bag's taken off. You've been given sumptuous meals. You've got really good service, and they just want you to ignore everything that's happened. Logically and reasonably, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in that position, the first thing they're going to be asking is, how did I get here?
What am I doing here?
What am I doing here? And there's but here's the food. Enjoy the food. Yeah, the food and the pleasure is nice. It's a nice experience, but that's not explaining what I'm actually doing here. Like, how did I get here? No, but that's not really important. It is important because I'm on this journey, and the text that keeps coming up, and I don't understand what that is. Where am I going? Who brought me here? You see? Is your name Steve? Sorry, is the name Steve?
No, Marco.
Marco. Okay.
No, I wasn't actually just saying, let's just focus on the fun that we're having. I'm saying that my motivations for thinking come from different issues that we face as a species and as a planet and as part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So
No, we appreciate that.
So those are where my
But to reason about our universe, you see what you'll notice, one thing that we see time and time again, whenever questions about the origin of existence comes into a question with someone who doesn't believe in God, we see an automatic drive towards a particular, not yourself, toward a comfort zone called evolution. Oh, we came through evolution, it's a natural selection and so on and so forth. Not realizing it, we're not questioning about the biological transformation of matter to whatever, right? We are questioning the very existence of matter. Okay? So they have to come out of their comfort zone, and they find it very, very difficult. I mean, this is from experience. They find it difficult to talk about how does matter exist? Why does something exist rather than nothing? They always wanted to say, oh, this is, we've just got told by our professors and so on, it's all about evolution. Because that's how they have rationalized this question. You don't need to even think critically any further because everything happens because of this just
It's all
evolution. So if we were to come back to the question about nothing and something, there has to be something always. This is the only rational position to take. You can't have a position where at one point in the past there was absolute nothing and then something came. Because absolute nothingness cannot make something. It has no energy, it has no existence of its own, it cannot do anything. It's like saying, for example, you, while you are nothing, can give yourself life. You can't, because you were nothing to begin with.
I just think that the fact that there is matter in existence I guess one plausible, like one theory is that, well, it's because it was consciously created, or it could be.
But you're jumping to the second and third, fourth questions. The first question to understand is whether and agree whether something always existed or not. Because there are many people who'll be surprised they don't see the rationality of that problem that we are facing. Either something always existed or there was at that point absolute nothingness. Absolute nothingness is not a rational position to take. Because from absolute nothingness, we should have absolute nothingness. But if we are something now, there has to be always something. Do you agree to that? Then we can move on.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I have always thought that myself, you know.
Good. So there was always something. But now, the question now is, if this is always something, it could be our universe, or it could be the causes of our universe, or the causes of that universe. It can just go on and on and on how much you want, right? We need to have an explanation in terms of transformation and change that happens. Does it happen by conscious will, or it just happens? Just happens. Which one seems to be sensible by understanding and analyzing the data within our cosmos?
I mean, I feel like it's a constant transformation.
That transformation to happen either just happens, or it happens because of a willing agent who is self-aware, driving that change and transformation, driving that assembly together. You know, when the sun cells are coming together in the embryonic form, they just move together and aggregate in one place to form the tissue of the heart. They don't go there to make the stomach. The cells that are going to make the tissue of the heart, they aggregate to make the heart.
What's the argument and what's the evidence for this conscious?
No, it's not about argument and evidence. We're trying to understand, could it be no conscious agent, no willing agent that is involved within this process, or is there a conscious willing agent? These are the two broader alternatives. You don't need the third one, these are broader alternatives. We can analyze each one. If there is no conscious agent, willing agent to make that transformation, why do we expect any transformation in the first place? There should be no transformation. You see, the laws of physics, if something moves, is moving, it should keep on moving, unless there's another force to stop it from moving. It should just keep on going and going and going. If something is changing to something, organizing cells of a heart and tissue, if something is organizing something, we need to understand, is it just simply happening that's like without a cause, intelligence behind it? Or there is a causal explanation for it, which is an agent of will and self-awareness.
I guess there can be these changes that happen, and the cause is the reaction between themselves, rather than...
Reactions to happen, these rules and laws need to be in place. The rules came together in place to form this reaction. When you have an hydrogen and oxygen and you just make a spark and you put them together, you get water forming. But to have that rule there to begin with needs an explanation. How do you have a rule there? Every time you have H2 and H2O, right, and you do this spark and then water forms, this universal principle that we now have discovered and observed, how do I explain that? If I keep on throwing plastics, Zishan's mic and his glasses and his very fancy watch, and just bang in a warehouse, do I expect the next generation iPhone to happen? It's not going to happen. It will never happen. Even if I, have of these intelligent like this has alarm or chronograph and lots of other things, right? If this microphone capturing sound, transmitting over there, if I keep on throwing this, I create an explosion in a warehouse. Do I expect a nice car, which is Tesla, for example?
We know the conscious thing that's driving that change, and that's us.
So how do we then assign to our cosmos an unconscious, not self-aware agency, saying no agency, no will involved, and yet transformation in assembly happened? I mean, how would you explain that to our friend Marco?
The thing is, Marco, what would be interesting to think about here is forces. When you look at forces, a lot of people, when they say the universe came by itself, it's actually, like the brother was saying, it's a logical impossibility because you're presupposing that a universe exists for it to create itself.
Yeah.
So to say, oh, the universe created itself or it came from nothing, presupposes that there is a universe, then they go to deifying forces. Like you're alluding to sometimes with chemicals and certain things, but if you actually analyze, like the theory of arithmetic, if I've got 1,000 in the bank, then I put another 1,000 in the bank. Arithmetic tells me I've got 2,000, but it doesn't create the money in the first place. Me moving a billiards ball, physics can tell me the laws of motion, but it doesn't cause the ball to move. So forces are descriptive and prescriptive, they are not creative. So this is, I think, a bit of a cop-out when sometimes, and that's why I think Terence McKenna said that, science or scientists, they want the first miracle that matter and space and energy came from nothing. And then we want to explain now from there everything else. So I think that's what Mansur was trying to emphasize, that it is that first miracle that we don't want to give that away for free. We want that emphasis and we want to get to the root of that, because you were saying you want to...
And I am certain that we all know that there is a root there. We all know that there is an explanation, whatever their explanation may be. I would like to see a slightly broader offering than. Well, I don't know. I would like. I've heard the conscious creator. I've heard that. I frankly would like to hear some.
What other options are there?
What?
A self-aware, self-conscious, willing agent, and something that is.
Why is it so binary? Why have you stopped? Why have we stopped at those?
Okay, give me some other explanations.
I'll go away. Well, I mean, let me go.
Let me help you. Rather than you going away, let me help you. And feel free to stop me whenever you want. And push back. So on the one hand, when people say, I want evidence, they say, and it's pretty much limited to empirical evidence.
I should have then said I wanted evidence. I just said I wanted a broader offering of possibilities.
But a broader offering of possibilities is predicated on evidence, isn't it? And there's different forms of evidence, and there's different branches.
I guess you can have it. You can have.
You would say empirical evidence. But on the other hand, when we're talking about religion, we say, look, empirical evidence, ontological evidence, and rational and philosophical evidence as well. So let's talk rationality, because I'm sure you'll agree when it comes to science, it can't answer why questions. It doesn't tell us what consciousness is. It can't explain what free will is. It doesn't explain morality. I mean, science washes its hands when it comes to morality, free will, consciousness. We're in agreement with that, isn't it? So because of that now, we need logic, we need rationality, we need philosophy. That's why, I mean, when things were stripped, Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. That's what, at the bare bones, that's what things were stripped to. I exist, you exist, right? So when you exist, then you look around, you look for order. Uniformity, regularity, stability. Like, why are trees not floating away? Why are cars not, just randomly combusting and exploding? Because there is some stability. That then begs the question, as we've agreed, that there then is a necessary being that is at the end of that chain of dependent things. But now we arrive to that point that, okay, what are the qualities of that necessary being? Mansur said there has to be a will. Because if we have emerged at a period of time, and we didn't emerge before this necessary being. So if it's emerging at a specific time, and no one's telling the necessary being what to do with us, it's a will. Yeah, I'm sure it's logically making sense that us being here, the creation being here, we were created at a specific moment in time. There is will. That being also needs power as well. Yeah, there is power. The fact that that power doesn't randomly switch off and switch on, and other beings, that power was there forever. Yeah, for it to be the end of the chain. Feel free to stop me when you think.
No. Like, this is. I was far from wanting to stick my head in the sand away from this question, away from the go. I've been. The bag's come off. Food's great. Oh yeah, what's that? No, I'm not going to wonder how I got here. It's obviously like I don't want to do that. But I feel like, why is this? So the extreme focus on the very, very beginning, or even what comes after, if you believe something that comes after. Like, what? My philosophy is that basically I'm saying that I don't know why the focus is so much on this issue when in all likelihood, like, I mean, are we ever going to, in your lifetimes, are we going to have a definite answer on this one?
Of course.
Do you think?
Marco, you know why that's such an important question? Because that then is predicated on the root of our morality. Because as human beings, we have to live morally.
I feel like I'm very morally aware, and I'm able to do that without too much contemplation as to how we've come to be here or what will come to happen to me after I die. I think that it's perfectly possible to live well and morally without spending an awful lot of time on this particular issue.
All right, Marco. If I was to slap Mansur on the shoulder,
Yeah.
is that good or bad?
Where it depends on context.
Well, you just saw me. I slapped him, and you've asked me, like, what would you say to me? Is that good or bad?
Well, I'd say it's context dependent. We've all,
But you're seeing
you
the
walk out.
context.
You walk out of somewhere. You've had a great time with your buddy. You snap him on the back. Bloody hell, that's brilliant, wasn't it? That was great. You slapped him on the back.
I didn't
It's
say that
camaraderie.
though. I just did that, just like now.
Oh,
Is that good or bad?
Well, I'd say it's probably pretty innocuous and it doesn't really need too much contemplation. I mean, it would be interesting to know your motivations. I guess a slap on, what was the cause of, what was the rationale behind your action?
I just wanted to slap him.
You wanted to slap him, okay. And I guess if you wanted to get into that, and so we'd say, was that bad for you? Did you like that?
no, I didn't.
You didn't like it? Please, would you not do that to Mansur again?
Well, why is it bad? He likes it.
Well, I mean, I guess we all just have to be. We are free to go about our lives and think and do what we think is best, as long as it doesn't encroach on other people too bad. We need to be aware of where our actions encroach on the lives of other people or other.
Where did that metric come from? And why is that metric better than my metric?
Your metric is I should
My
be able to
metric
do
is I
whatever
should be-
I
yeah,
want.
If pleasure more than pain, like Bentham said.
Pleasure. Well, I guess what we could do, this.
Why would you restrict his pleasure in hitting me, for example?
Well, I mean, with then to say, where does your pleasure? What pleasure do you arrive from hits?
It gives me a dopamine release. That physical contact just makes me feel in charge.
Okay. Well, do you want to live in a world where people can do that if they want? Do you want to live in a world where people are free to do whatever they want, free of?
I don't care about other people.
You don't care about other people, and do you think that's the kind of society that you'd like to live in?
I don't care about society. I care about myself, my pleasure, my pain.
Okay, so you just would happily live in a. They have to be in a physical place. That matter that we've discussed
No,
has to be in a physical place.
He lives like a Brazilian drug lord, quite happy,
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
and enjoys his life by exploiting people and whatever that
Yeah.
needs to do.
Yeah, so do
Why-
you think
why-
a
why is morality
rules-based
not-
order is something that you're
So
going to
is he
derive
doing a
any-
moral thing?
Because you know what? You love to slap people on the shoulder, but you can't do that if someone's
So
done something
why are
to
you saying it is
to limit
immoral?
if someone's arbitrarily incarcerated you, for example, and your hands are tied behind your back. You won't be able to go around enjoying yourself slapping people on the shoulder because, well, you'll be tied up. So you want to enjoy the
So
freedom of being
how can
not.
you prove that, like theoretically, that we can then mass produce that theory to other people?
We've come pretty far, haven't we? I mean, look, we've done pretty bloody well at civilizing ourselves. I mean, the world, the way that we live now is very different to the way that humans have lived for the majority of our
How
history.
long ago was communism in Russia? Not too long ago.
No, we've got a lot of stuff in our recent history.
So
yeah.
we only learned within the last 100, 200 years, you say? Are you saying we've learned enough?
And it's not perfect. No, I'm not saying we
Right.
have.
So we keep on learning. That means we haven't got the right moral guidance yet. Because 200
we're
years
doing
ago,
our best and we're working
100 years ago, 200 years ago, in communist Russia, they thought they had their upper moral ground. And look what happened. Look how many people, how many thousands of people suffered because of that. So if you were thinking about, we're pretty much now there, already we're here, a moral understanding of what makes moral and so on, I would say we're probably not even there yet. Because that's what people thought 100 years ago. And 100 years later,
we
that's
learn
what they
from
will
that.
tell us.
And Marco, what's interesting is, sorry to cut you. You said we're doing pretty much now. We're doing pretty much better now. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'd say at least in the realm of what people can freely do to other people.
Like invading Iraq and Palestine
Indeed.
and
Like
Syria, lots of countries looting all their wealth from Africa, from Asia, Are we doing pretty well?
I mean, in what we've come to, we were just talking about we were talking about personal freedoms and the ways that we can act towards one another in a day-to-day setting, and what you can do with impunity.
Our personal freedom seems to be very much restricted by our political freedom, by our politicians. What they're doing, they're invading the whole country for
Indeed.
greed because of oil and gas.
Yeah.
So we haven't come anywhere near to the good moral
Definitely
standard.
not. But I'd say we've definitely. We're just
So
saying
what was your question about morality? Are you saying the morality is not something that should be grounded on our own personal feelings, but rather
Yeah, it should be objective. It should come objectively. Because the thing is, Marco, I could see the sincerity in what you were saying, but let's face it, it's not going to really get far. There's no metric. What you are referring to is by Kant, the categorical imperative. We know the categorical imperative of Kant breaks down. It's pretty much what you said, which is that if you extrapolate something to other people, would you mind if that happened to other people, if other people started doing that, would that be conducive for society? That's what you were saying. But then the point, and it breaks down to lying, that if a woman is at home and her husband's at home and she opens the door and there's a killer outside and her husband's inside and the killer asks her, is your husband at home? According to Kant and according to the morality that you put forward, she's not allowed to lie. Because if she lies, then other people can lie, and then that's bad for society, therefore she can't lie. And that's where it breaks.
I guess
what do you think about that?
I guess lying is context dependent, isn't it? Really, lying. If a lie, like everything, like a slap on the shoulder, like you can't. There's no one answer for something like a lie because it's so context dependent. Go for it. Yeah.
So the only Marco is what you may determine as a white lie, I'm going to determine as a serious lie. Let me give you an example. You go home late.
I didn't say it was a white lie. I just said that there's lies of context dependent.
Yeah, we're not going to hold you to it. Don't worry. So in the sense that, can we agree on this point that gradations of lying is subjective to people? What I deem as a little white lie, you will deem as a serious lie. Can we agree on that?
I guess we'd have to. Because people might judge things differently.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if there was an example of a lie where one person thought it was minuscule and the other person thought it was major.
Okay, so if I asked my friend, how are you? Yeah, and my friend tells me he's fine.
Yeah.
However, he's lying. He's actually, going through some madness at home, and he's told me everything's fine just to throw me off the scent. And then there came a chance that he was very close to being suicidal, and he could have taken his life because of that one lie that he said. And I turned away and didn't enter his house. His life could have gone. Can you see now? To him, he just wants to get away. He just wants me away because for him, he's just thinking.
I'd agree that I think that most people would think that was, a serious situation.
But for him, he's just seeing in terms of he thinks in his head, I'm going to die anyway. It's a short existence. But again, whether you see in terms of lying, whether you look in terms of time, whether you look in terms of culture, Marco, there's just so many variables that one has to take into consideration whether one lie is justified and one lie is not justified. Let me give you the example of Boris Johnson, the very Prime Minister of our country. He even now, barefaced, telling people that, you know what, I didn't go against the lockdown rules, what I did was justified. Sunak is defending him. But I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, even according to a YouGov poll, people are saying it was a lie, it was anti common sense. It just went against what we believe in, what we believe to be true, but that man simply cannot accept that. And he's convinced that he's correct and he's right. Why? Because it's the same like a child, you've asked him and he will lie. Again, a white lie, if your wife asks you, oh, do I look fat in this? What if she genuinely wants your opinion so she can go to the gym? But you lie because you don't want to hurt her feelings. Again, there's just so many things. But again, Marco, this is what it comes down to. And this is what you said at the start, that look, I want to look at the bigger picture, I want to look at the bigger thing. And I'm saying, Marco, you actually can't do that. Why? Because in the society that we're living in at this moment in time, you can go on the street and you can ask people, what is a woman? And I promise you, I swear to everything that's holy, you will not get consistent answers on this. What is a woman? You're not. In fact, if that's recorded and it goes online, you can lose your job. If on camera you say anything about the vaccines, you can lose your job. If you question any historical aspect about the Holocaust or 9/11, you can lose your job. This video will be censored. So the point that I'm trying to say is, all of these things about you can say this, you can't say that, is all predicated upon morality. And that morality needs a basis, it needs a foundation. What is right, what is wrong? And simply saying, oh, whatever you feel is right or whatever, that's what the example was.
No, but I mean, I guess the idea of a creator, if you're coming back to that. I mean, I think a religion is a set of moral guidelines, and that's a good thing to take. You know, it's a way to live that should be a good way, a morally just way. Fine. So yeah, I mean, and we're not disagreeing that you wherever you get your morality from.
What we're saying is, morality necessarily follows when you necessarily accept there's a necessary being. Mentioned 3 times.
When
there has to be a necessary being who is the cause of our existence.
In order for us to be able to have a morality, we have to.
No. What I'm saying, because we exist, something exists. There will be something that exists always, and that has to be the necessary being, because everything that you see is contingent and dependent. The thing that all of these things will depend on will be that thing that will be not dependent. That is the necessary being. That necessary being, because being is not something like a person yet, right? This necessary being will have certain characteristics and properties and attributes, like self-awareness, like will, like power. This is something that will follow logically and rationally when we understand what is something now. When this necessary being then, with willingness, tells us something, that becomes our guidance. Because we, by our definition, we are limited and we are finite and we are dependent. We don't understand and we will not comprehend the whole, working of the cosmos. Because we are only a tiny part of the cosmos, right? We don't know everything. The fact is, when this necessary being, the independent being, the one who is absolute, free from all limitations and dependency, tells us something, that becomes our best guidance. And this is where we say morality and guidance are all grounded on that necessary being.
I don't think you need that necessarily. I think that our morality and our guidance can come from ourselves. I think that the way that we can live can be passed down from our, this way. Listen to your elders, people who've lived. And I think that morality can be passed down throughout our species. I don't think
Today, do people disagree on the questions of morality on many issues? Seriously?
Yes.
Yes. So that means where is the moral guidance of the correct position to?
Well, we're working that one out. It's a
You're working.
We're
What
working that
if-
one out. We've become.
Okay,
we have
I
become
understand and
the species
appreciate
that we are.
your position. We're working. Maybe eventually someday we'll find. But what I'm saying is,
Nothing can
the
happen.
correct position is already provided by the one who created us to free us from this trial and error, like what they did in communist Russia, to spare us from this trial and error and suffering. The creators told us, this is the guidance for you to live. This is the best thing for you.
And where's that guidance?
That's a very good question, but at least in principle we should be ready to accept that if there is a creator, the necessary being, anything that comes from the creator will be the best guidance for us. Once in principle we agree to that, then we can say, where is it? How do we verify it? How do we assess that this is indeed that guidance is from that creator? This is the next question.
I feel a
We have
lot
to accept
freer,
that-
actually, thinking that we are here and we are able to come up with our own answers.
Why did-
and we
why-
can. Some people, something can
Okay.
come from nothing.
Let me
like
ask
an
you-
idea.
ask
Hang on,
you-
let me finish. Like an idea, you can have an idea that I think. You know what? Actually, this is a direction that we need to go in. This is going to create a better. This is good moral guidance that we can follow to make this world a better place. And I think that's
You're
a much
speculating-
freer. That's much freer than because that means we can have answers ahead of us rather than everything already being said.
Do you believe that that idea came from nothing, though? Do you honestly believe that? Do ideas come from nothing?
Do ideas come from nothing?
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, where does that creativity come from? Where does an idea come from? Yeah,
Like, even if you take that weird tabula rasa, we're a blank slate, but a blank slate gets filled in by our parents, by our society, by what we get in from our five senses, by rationality, by our understanding, by experience. So
our
when
understanding, we know more about, like, our understanding of the way that our brains work
Let me give you an
is
example.
very,
Marco.
very
Let me give you
minimal.
an example.
And I think that it doesn't come from nothing, but it comes from an idea that can come from a place inside our brain.
Let's
that
take
we-
this tabula rasa thing. My brain is empty when I'm born. Yeah? My parents tell me I learn language to communicate. I learn from my teachers. I learn from my five senses. I learn from my surroundings. If I am not in a country, for example, if I am
It's not empty of instincts. It's not empty of your instinct. You
Yeah.
have an instinct to speak. You have an instinct to. Yeah. So it's not that instinct.
Yeah, you're talking about innate disposition, but that's different from an idea. An idea and innate disposition are two different things. They're two different categories. So then on the one hand, if I'm in the concrete jungle, as I were, I can't come up with an idea that's going to help in a third world country for them to purify their water if I haven't been exposed to that environment, if I'm not cognizant and I haven't been taught about what the language is, if I've been taught about that community. It's only if I was to go there and I learn about the culture and I learn about what's used, what the society is, only then can I have ideas, only then things will come. Like Stephen Hawking, he learned about physics, he learned about the language of the universe and stuff like that. Therefore, he was able to come up with theories of the black hole. Now, that theory of the black hole, you can say is an idea, but it didn't come from nothing. It came from his understanding of physics, understanding of laws and forces. Correct?
Yes, I guess you can't have an idea about something that you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So you have to be.
Ideas don't come from nothing.
No, but no, of course they have a new idea that hasn't existed before can come from something, but that will be grounded on something.
Exactly. That's the point. So when we talk about morality, we say when the creator gives us this guidance will be the best for us. This is something that's easily understood because if the creator wants us to live, in fact, if I were to ask you, Marco, what was the purpose of your creation from that creator? Why did this creator create you? How would you find out?
I think all of our existence is totally arbitrary.
Are you suggesting the one who is
no
a
reason.
willing, conscious agent who brought about this change did this willy-nilly in vain with no purpose behind it?
I think
Just look at yourself. The way you're organized, the way the sun is organized, so much design input in there for a reason. Yet, put yourself whole together, there's no purpose behind your life. Does that make sense? To give you an example, The heart is there to perform its function, to pump the blood all over the body. The lungs is there to take in the oxygen and then remove the harmful carbon dioxide from the body, to have the gaseous exchange and then have this energy transferred from your liver, your kidneys, everything in your body seems to be there for a specific function and purpose. Whole body together, we're saying there's no purpose behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that.
Every part of our body has a purpose, and you put it all together, you don't have a purpose?
It depends whose purpose in whose eyes. Purpose in my eyes,
No.
purpose in society's eyes.
Let me explain a bit further. Did you and I decide the purpose of our heart to beat? Lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. Didn't. Did you put the purpose of your ears for hearing and balance? Did I?
No,
we didn't.
for me.
So nothing of our body, individually or collectively as a whole, how can we then say we make our own purpose? Because we did not design or put our function and purpose for the parts, but as a whole, how can we say the whole we can decide our purpose?
These are just tools. They're just tools. They're like.
No. If it's so seriously, when you contemplate it, every single part of our body, the purpose and the function, we didn't decide, we didn't agree to. It's something that is there, like an engineer who's done it. And then when we put it all together, you can't say, oh, my purpose is to be happy and have a cigar and that's it. It has to be set by the one who created us. Just like all the parts of our body, the function is set. That makes sense.
The thing is, I don't see that correlation, as in like.
Okay. The parts of a purpose, the whole doesn't have a purpose. I mean, how do we square that circle?
Well, I mean, but then it depends on what. Yeah. The purpose is very loaded. So I've been
Function. What is your function being here in this cosmos?
Well, my function here today.
No,
is
your whole existence, your whole life. Shouldn't be decided by yourself, like you didn't decide the purpose and function of your heart.
I think